How Bizarre is intended for mature, open-minded audiences only. If you are easily offended, we suggest you turn this wacky shit straight off.
So I thought in light, I should say, of the heaviness of last week's episode and the heaviness of the world in general, going on today, not to avoid it, but I thought maybe let's just avoid it for a week. And I found some wacky news headlines and stories, and we'll go through a bunch of these quickly, and any stories or anything you guys want to chat about. Then
all right, good night, guys.
Gotta go. And then Christopher, I'm sure, has another rousing round of weird triv, and then we are going to end with something I've been very excited to hear about, his pick for album that changed his life.
Yeah.
I had a few guesses, not like specific albums. I had a few guesses concerning like bands or at least genre. But I don't know. Christopher,
Well,
your music's a little...
I have an eclectic taste, yes.
Well, and you listen to a lot of bands that I don't listen to. I can't say that about John Mark or Lyle. In many instances, you listen to a lot of things that I'm not familiar with at all. So this will be interesting.
I spent all week wondering if Chris fucked up or not and just didn't take his pick.
Well,
like, shouldn't he have actually?
I thought for sure.
I was confused.
Lyle's referring to the text we got from Ron today saying, all right, we're good to go at this time. News quiz, yeah. Also, Lyle, you good with your album pick? And I was like, is this motherfucker? I've been prepping. And then
We're going to bum Chris.
John Mark kind of hijacked me the first time, but I was I loved that he was so excited to do it. I was like, fuck yeah, take it, baby. Mm-hmm. I was like, is he fucking with me when he said that?
Mine's super easy. Mine just turns with the lineage of...
don't spoil anything. Don't spoil anything.
Mm-hmm.
The time.
Mm-hmm.
Back when we were all living it.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not going to spoil it. It'll be obviously be next week. But what I was referring to is like after the episode, I was like, but wasn't he supposed to?
Yeah, I see what you mean. Yeah, we never really, I guess we never really set the premise, but it sort of organically became, you set it up, then the very next week you listen, and then the very next episode we talk about it, and vice versa. Yeah. So there will always be one episode where we set up and one episode where we listen, and never one where we listen and then go right into a setup. I think it's too much. I think that would be too much. So, but I think what I got confused on was, I'm just guessing, but my fucking brain barely works anyway. But I think because one of the last things I remember about the sign off of last week was I was saying, so Lyle, you got a week to get your show ready, and then we'll be doing... I said something like that, and I think that was sticking in my head, and the rest was just everything we say on this fucking show pretty much becomes a jumble until I listen back to it. I remember it better after I listen back to it, oddly enough, than when I'm actually in the middle of the conversation, because so many things I plan to talk about, and they either get, they go down different paths, or it just stops and starts, and so it's, even when I plan a show, it's kind of tough for me to remember. But anywho, glad to be getting to that. And then, Lyle will be bringing his in 2 weeks, not next week. And then we will have gone through our first round, and then it will be time to pick one of y'all. I don't know if we've decided how we're going to do this. We talked about maybe a Patreon thing. We also talked about maybe just picking somebody. I don't know. I think maybe this first time, let's see if anyone even wants to do it. Let's see if we get like one request, and someone that actually wants to give us the time to either write out what they love about this album that we can read, or they can call into the show.
Well, if you pick not a good one. If you are take the time to actually put something together, hopefully a few people do, and we can pick one and just really we'll give it the fair treatment. It'd be awesome.
Yeah, I think that's the best way to do it. We'll just take applications, and we'll go from there. But I wanted to start off the bat, because this is sort of an addendum to my first rant of last week, which was about the Olympics. But this was kind of a funny story that I came across. And I remember hearing something like this several Olympics ago. So I knew that this was something that was going on, but I never really got the full scoop, as the kids like to say. But this is the story of the Olympics, like the Olympic Federation or whatever it is has been giving out condoms to its athletes and crew members over, I think, going all the way back to the late 80s. To the tune of like several 100,000 condoms to everybody. And so with a little digging, it turns out that the Olympics, not surprisingly, are sort of notorious for being massive hookup events.
Yeah, right.
Mostly fit, impressive, athletic,
virile
people. Can you imagine watching a couple of Olympic? Of course, not all sports are created equal, but yeah, take one of those fucking marathon. I was watching one of the open water competitions, which is just it as it sounds. It's swimming, but instead of in a pool, it's like this 5-hour race, and it's just out swimming in a fucking lake, like crossing this channel. And I'm thinking, and I know that there are way longer marathons than this, but it's just like, can you imagine? I think most of us can agree that swimming's a pretty vigorous cardio. Even if you're in shape, swimming and doing like 10 laps can get your heart thumping. Can you imagine swimming non-stop for 5 fucking hours? Like, I think 5 minutes at this point, my heart would explode.
Yeah.
It was impressive. But imagine watching them fuck.
Yeah, for sure.
And there have been some pretty famous outbreaks of herpes and gonorrhea. Along the Olympic way. But it had all really been sort of a not so secret that the Olympics behind the scenes are, an international fuck fest. But the wise powers that be in the Olympic Federation have done their part to make things a little safer concerning the spread of STIs. But they claim that the official reason, and this tracks with when they started doing it, was to raise awareness of HIV back in the day. I believe the first time they did this was 1988, which was at the height of, the AIDS epidemic. And we didn't know anything about this thing except that you could get it through sex. So they started handing out all these fucking condoms. And a lot of people have shared their official Olympic box of condoms on Twitter. So that was the point. It wasn't obviously to encourage these youngsters, in many cases, they're pretty young, to fuck everything in sight. But people are people, after all.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's like being in college. But
you can just imagine.
Everybody's all hot and in shape.
Just imagine. Yeah. And they're all, they're coming from all over the place, and you're meeting and there's celebrities
coming
involved,
in all over the place too.
They're all coming together from all over the world.
The same hotels, from, they're all probably, grouped together in the same hotels, and they're partying, and some places, and I don't know about China or wherever they're having it. Is it Japan?
That's where it was this time. Yeah.
I don't know the legal drinking age. So if it's 18. And these kids are getting drunk, and there's some sex gonna happen.
Oh, lots of it. Ryan Lochte recently joked about how off the charts the hookup factor at the Olympics that he was at, where he said that he would wager that over 75% of all of the athletes there were having sex with other athletes and celebrities. He said it was in orgies and just crazy sex parties. It was all happening. And plenty of people have backed it up. It's not just a couple people have come forward. And he was everyone's no one's surprised, right? Nobody is surprised by this. It's just one of those things that maybe you hadn't really thought about. But this year, however, the Olympics not only handed out less condoms than usual, still over 100,000, in hopes to discourage hooking up and increasing the chance of spreading COVID. But some are saying that they took this even further by furnishing the athletes' dorm rooms with lightweight, breakable beds that wouldn't stand up to two bodies.
I heard about this.
Horizontal
collapse, right?
Yeah. They do look like they're made out of cardboard. I think maybe they actually are.
Did you see any follow-up? Did you see any follow-up to this, though? I saw a follow-up story. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Well,
that reasoning was debunked. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Mostly it's just because they wanted to go with something cheap, something lightweight. And especially, I think this was introducing the use of recycled material for the 20,000+ beds that they had to come up with for these people that would be going away and then leaving all these beds behind. And that does make sense. But And they may look weak, but allegedly they're almost as strong as a normal bed. So, yeah, it didn't really play out that way. But the buzz on Twitter from many of the athletes, they were the ones kind of starting and keeping this rumor going. But it makes sense that these were not straight up anti-sex beds. But they definitely did try to discourage. It's a funny way to try to discourage people from having COVID sex, is giving out less condoms, but just a few less. Very strange.
Yeah.
What a time we live in. It gets wackier concerning COVID and sex, though. This is a different story, but connected. No pun intended. But COVID glory holes apparently have been officially sanctioned by the British Columbia Center for Disease Control. So, and this is one of many such organizations to dole out advice on this new, I suppose, version of safe sex. Now, we've talked about, like, I really think that we would have done a better job socially distancing across the board if everyone either had a partner or a COVID fuck buddy in place. We talked about this a year ago, and this is validated here to some degree. So give a listen and take note. This is, and I think we need to fix this issue, like moving forward, like so we can be prepared for future outbreaks. Things are ramping back up now. The numbers are going crazy. Mandates are popping up. And we're most certainly going to see some sort of shutdown or some sort of isolation. And either way, I think we're in for a long winter at the very least. But I think if we have a little bit of a plan, make a COVID fuck buddy plan. And here's what the BC CDC website says about the how to proceed cautiously. They say sex can be very important for mental, social, and physical well-being. It is a part of everyday life, of course. People can, will, and should continue to have sex during the COVID-19 pandemic. Messages that discourage or shame people from sexual contact can be harmful and may discourage people from seeking essential sexual health services, which is one of my favorite things that I've ever read on any of these like disease control websites, until this next bit that then goes on to talk about how COVID spreads while you're spread yourself. And then it gives a few helpful pointers. First, they do suggest wearing a mask, which could be weird. I don't know, maybe kind of hot. You could play with that a little. I've not tried that one.
Oh, Miss Nurse, you look dirty.
You could do something with it.
Like, let's get dirty.
A little cosplay. They do say to limit kissing and necking, which is a no-brainer. I mean, that makes sense.
What about oral?
Oral, it doesn't specifically say anything about oral here, but I have heard that, that's not likely, like viruses of that type. They're more about mucous membranes than, whatever's going to go down going down. But it says, this is my favorite part, of course. It says, do use barriers like walls or glory holes that allow for sexual contact but prevent. They use the word glory holes on an unofficial. Yeah.
So fuck your friend from a different room, maybe with like a
stranger,
or a stranger. It could be anyone. That's all the fun and excitement of a glory hole. They should call it a mystery hole.
I could never shove my dick in a hole and not know what's on the other side. Like the teeth coming down, that possibility of just the chompers.
There are a lot of possibilities, yeah.
Or you fucked up and you put the hole in the wrong place and then it's your neighbor, fuck.
I really gotta close my windows.
And get your landlord's permission before drilling any holes. But I suppose building a cardboard fuck fort would be your best bet, and just cut a hole in that.
I mean, when they say like
fuck fort, it's a weekend project. Go ahead.
The only thing I think of is like a shower made curtain or something, maybe.
Yeah,
like
that probably would do it. Yeah. Well, it's definitely going to cut back no matter what the material. just like
Weird.
my ass.
Lyle works in HVAC. He'll fucking find a way. Okay.
Oh,
Oof.
yeah.
Boy, metal though.
I'll get you a list.
Did you trust a metal glory hole? It's just like cut with one of those metal cutters, and it's just got that razor sharp edge. It's like, just let her float.
Just like
There's a boner, there's a way.
There's
like
a boner,
little
there's a way,
fucking-
but you're gonna need support for that boner on the other side. Stat.
Not
little
gonna
red,
say it's not
little
gonna
red
hurt
stains
afterwards.
all over it.
The saw glory hole.
Oh God.
Yeah,
God.
glory holes are funny. The idea of it. I mean, obviously, when you're just playing around at home and you know who you're with, it's a totally different thing. But the notion, and I think glory holes by and large are strictly a porn vehicle. But I've heard stories about actual glory hole type parties and stuff. They have to exist. Everything does somewhere out there.
I heard there's some that are local here in this valley.
Well, you know what I heard, and I meant you were
Yeah.
You were telling a story a while back. Maybe I did ask this. I don't think I got around to it. But you were talking about the area, kind of down by where you live, actually. There's a, I don't know if it's a massage parlor or it's not the sex shop, but there's something down there that's like a flower shop or, I mean, obviously the one that would make the most sense is the massage parlor. I've either heard that there's a glory hole type scenario down there, or I think what I heard was that it was one of these mythical or semi-mythical places where, you know, a rub and tug, where if you ask politely, they'll give you that extra happy ending.
Well, I'll tell you,
that
if
does
you
happen.
find out, please let me know.
But that's another thing that I think, I mean, come on, it's a hand
I
job.
heard
Shouldn't
the-
you just be able to go somewhere and get a hand job? That's a pretty...
I heard that the adult store, that there was booze in the back, and they had that kind of set up.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know if it was rudimentary or if it was like hidden. You know, I don't know. You know,
I've heard all sorts of things about that
I've heard
sex shop, but it's just rumor. I haven't
Dude,
confirmed.
okay.
I've only been in there with my girlfriends at the time, and then it's strictly in the front. I never went to the back, so
Heard
There-
that.
there's-
Mhm.
I don't know how it is in Wenatchee, but like over here, I've never been to one. I'm gonna be upfront about that. But there are a lot of those. Apparently, they did a story in the Kitsap Sun about it like 3 years ago. There's one I run by every day I run.
Oh,
and-
there's a lot specifically in Bremerton?
Yeah, but like all
Wow.
over. It's a real thing.
I knew they
haven't been able to
existed.
crack down. But like
Yeah.
I think there's a website you can go to with like that's I don't know
Show you
remember
where.
what it's called. It's like Rub Maps or something stupid like that. Like they talk about it
Love it.
in the Kitsap Sun story, but like the reporter went down outside of one and waited for a guy to come out. He was like, "Excuse me, sir, did you just get a massage in there?" And he goes, "Oh yeah, just got a massage. It's great." And he goes, "I don't mean to be
To
rude,
completion.
but did you get anything additional while you were in there?" And the guy was like, "Oh yeah, she jerked me off."
oh
Wow.
shit.
Like, he was like,
Candid.
"Can I quote you on this?" He's like, "Oh yeah, just leave my name off. It's fine. Yeah, whatever. I come here. They jerk me off all the time. It's fantastic." Like she was like, "It's unbelievable."
I don't
and
think
so
there's anything wrong with
It's
that. I've
interesting.
dated a masseuse, and at the time, I mean, we were dating at the time. She wouldn't whack me off. I asked her to. I was like, "Come on, how about
You were dating her and she wouldn't whack you out?
Well, yeah.
Oh,
well,
you mean at her business?
exactly?
Well, I gotcha. Well, that's fair.
wanted to keep it
Wow,
professional.
professional, Lyle. Come on.
Yeah. Well, it's a tricky thing because, you know, we've had a couple of masseurs or whatever the fuck they're called, including John Mark's girlfriend. We had her on the show and straight up asked how many times, have people, I can't remember the answer, but I remember it being an interesting talk. It's like, usually what happens is the dude just kind of rolls over with his heart on in the air. And if I remember right, you just pick up the blanket or the pillow and gently cover that thing up and pretend you didn't see it. And I think that's probably how a lot of guys go about it, because it's how do you ask? Like, how do you even approach that?
Well,
if this is the thing,
it's-
the answer is you probably shouldn't,
Well,
I suppose. But
I just want to make it clear here that there's a difference between a massage parlor and
A
where you
physical
go
therapist.
to actually get a massage from a massage therapist.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So depending on the
But
type of establishment you're
imagine the
visiting,
two combined.
depending on the type of establishment you're visiting, it might be pretty obvious that if you just rolled over, that might be the signal, right?
like waiting
you're kind
for
of
it.
going there for that reason.
Yeah,
but
always
if
eye
it's
the
another
lubrication that's
place,
on the
it's
shelf.
like obvious that like that is not a thing that's going to happen here. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
But imagine physical therapole. I would totally go to physical therapy.
I think it'd be beneficial to people and their,
It's
health.
incredibly beneficial. Well, going back to you have listen. We just quoted that thing that I just quoted came from an official like clinical research disease facility. Straight up taking time out of their website's day to explain the importance. Not that we all need to hear it, but it is nice to be reminded that we're still such a weird society about sex, and sometimes it's easy to still feel some of that like residue shame coming off of years and years of strange puritanical and oppressive sexual behavior in this country. Or in your neck of the woods where you grow up. And it's nice to be reminded by professional people that, look, this is important shit, but no one's going to argue that getting whacked off is beneficial, right?
Well, the thing is like it truly is because like if you go a long time without nut, you could actually get prostate cancer. You can't let that build up. So
yeah, that's one theory. That is a theory that
to that every once in a while.
I can't imagine. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, I'm just saying, if you need help, fucking why? And you didn't have a partner, why not just go get a massage and get it done? They can do it more.
Well, to your point, doctors even do that. Well, they don't whack you off, but they give you a prostate massage to relieve your prostate of. It's more about the prostatic fluid than any semen, but oftentimes it relieves you of both.
Prostatic fluid.
Yeah, I think it's all fair. I think that it's in terms of like, I suppose if you want to look at it as prostitution, I guess, but it's a pretty tame sexual act for being a full-on sexual act, in my opinion. And it's an upsell, right? Like the small business is doing great too, because I don't know how much extra it is to get the old Yankee Dank. Does anyone know what the word on the street is from that article that your friend wrote, Chris?
No.
What's your difference of prostitution, though? I mean, wasn't that active sex with a partner? If you're just getting your dick jerked, that's.
Well, I can tell you that if you go hire a prostitute to jack you off, that's still illegal. So the law considers that prostitution. But I my stance on prostitution. I think it should be legalized and regulated and watched over like everything else. It's still, even as a legal enterprise, still has the potential for being an incredibly dangerous and unsafe in many ways business. But God, look at what it is now. It's so much like the war on drugs to me in a lot of ways, where you want to rationalize this thing where on paper, yeah, it sounds good to make this thing that's dangerous and I suppose morally questionable for a lot of people, but let's look at how it's gone. Let's look at how it's working. We have a hard time being practical in this country about things. I think that's changing to some degree, but anyway, the old rubbing tug. I don't know. I think that it's this close. It's just 5 fingers, maybe 4, depending on the establishment, away from being therapeutic. I mean, come on. Don't we all whack it at the end of the day when we're just like, I just need to unwind? How is that not therapeutic? Or even if it is for some like sexual gratification, like a contact with somebody else, like, oh my God, this girl's rubbing my dick. Even if it's, well, what's wrong with that? I don't know. If everyone's on the same page, it's all legit. Again, it's happening anyway. Bremerton is not that big of a town, and I'm sure it's happening in Wenatchee. Wenatchee is certainly not that big of a town. So, but that's one establishment that I've heard. There's something down there. I don't know what it is.
There's a military base there too. Just saying.
Oh, well, now you're talking. That does make sense why there would be more than one or two. Because I think Wenatchee would be good with probably one. But you got them ships coming in. Whoo! Although aren't most of them? How does it work? Are most of them stationed at Bremerton? So they'd probably be coming home to their wives or husbands, right?
They do like rotations, so they'll be like, well, we're going to be in Bremerton for 18 months. And so they all get homes for 18 months and bring their families here, or the single guys just stay on the ship or get like single housing. They get like a stip for housing. They get their own apartment or whatever. Sometimes it's longer, sometimes it's shorter. Fucking, it's terrible. Like the people that come and go. I've met some cool people. They're like, man, it sucks you're leaving. Never see you again.
Yeah, strange life.
It's brought a lot of people to this town. People are.
Let me ask you this, Chris.
Travel.
Little personal question here. You ever hooked
Yeah.
up with one of these offshore ladies and or what? Obviously, I don't know the terminology, but if somebody jumps off the boat, hanging out in town for a summer or whatever, you're hooked up, and
The
then
vast
had to watch
majority
it.
are men. There are women, but the vast majority are men. I've
Still the
never
way.
never had the
One of my
tango.
favorite things about pulling into Bremerton is rounding the shipyard there and seeing
cool.
some of those giant battleships are. Well, are they even They look like battleships.
Yeah, they're
but they're
aircraft
really-
carriers and battleships, etc.
They're huge, and they look like floating spaceships. When you're not used to seeing something like that, it just the closest thing your brain can register it to is spaceships. And I guess a lot of those sci-fi spaceships were designed based on battleships. Certainly Star Wars and the old Battlestar Galactica, those spaceships were. And look at what we ended up with. They don't look anything like that. Like our spacecraft mostly look like either giant dicks or boxes of foil and, hoses and tubes. They're not very pretty. Our spacecraft are not very elegant and super cool or badass looking. Just dicks, wings, and boxes. A lot of boxes in space.
A lot of boxes.
Well, I have a few more, but I'm going to let you guys chime in.
I had what I was going to talk about last week, but then I lost it, so I don't know.
That's all right. Well, I got plenty to talk about, and I do want to keep this a little shorter tonight because I promised the girls we're going to watch Goonies. They've never seen the Goonies.
It's a good one.
Oh, this is fucking great.
A movie night.
Oh.
I don't think they were old enough collectively, like the last year or two, but I think they're old enough now because it's a little spooky, and it's funny. Well, I think it will. Everything I've showed them so far, like they loved Flight of the Navigator, they loved The Cat from Outer Space, which I think was even before my time. But we talked about this a while back, where the things that we grew up on, especially, I guess, yeah, Chris, to some degree, but I think the tide might have been turning a little bit by the time you were a kid and watching things. But when we were kids, children's shows and movies were fucking terrifying. Like we had Labyrinth and Dark Crystal, and those things were pretty fucking creepy for 3, 4, 5-year-olds.
Escape to Witch Mountain.
Yeah, and people would die. And Raiders of the Lost Ark, like we were watching that shit when we were little kids, seeing people fucking melt. Spoilers.
What was the one with the trailer park? The Last Starfighter.
Oh, The Last Starfighter, yeah.
It's a good one,
that was great.
That'd be a hard one to keep up, though. Like, if you were to watch it now, I don't think it'd be that great.
You never know. Yeah, some of them hold up. Well, everything is so 80s crazy now that in a funny way, a lot of what the kids are used to seeing in newer shows, they kind of recognize it in the old 80s things, because the Last Starfighter is a good example, because that was all about this dude. Total Tron ripoff. But it was about a dude who was super good at I guess it's not a Tron ripoff, but similar themes. Really good at that video game, an arcade game that was in the trailer park. And they used that, if I remember right, it's been a long time, but I think they used those video games. Like if you got a certain amount of points in that game, they would fly down from space and recruit you to be an actual starfighter. Like that's all of those games were planted in arcades all over the world to recruit starfighters.
All of the universe. So you had aliens and stuff.
That's a plot right out of a current. I almost said 1980. What fucking decade is it? What millennium is it? Out of a current show on Netflix. That plot could be something right out of Stranger Things, or everything's 80s crazy still. So I think they will love it. But my point was, what was I getting? Oh, so many of the things that they watch are like, even the stuff that's for older kids is pretty fucking tame, and it to me it reads like baby programming compared to what we were watching. Well, definitely compared to what we were watching back in the day.
Well, we were watching, or what we were allowed to watch, is a whole separate thing. They still had the ratings, You know what I mean? From G to
Mhm.
PG-13 to
Yeah, but we
you
were
know,
allowed to watch the Flintstones and like Bugs Bunny, where they're like shooting people in the fucking head.
oh yeah, oh yeah,
All that stuff is banned now from TV.
Lastly, mm-hmm.
And
No,
God,
that's
what was it? Tom and Jerry. Jesus Christ,
Tom
Tom and Jerry was nothing but fingers in, going into light sockets,
and piano
glass
hinge.
being broken over, fucking the heads, smashing each other in the face with hammers for laughs, and lighting firecrackers and
Mice throwing the cats to the dogs.
and it's like I don't know that any of that stuff led a few. Well, good Lord, Bugs Bunny goes back to the fucking 30s and 40s. We didn't know that when we were kids, so we were watching shit that was 30 years old when my parents were born. We were just watching cartoons.
Probably Wile E. Coyote and the Roadrunner.
Fucking
if not Sam. Sam was kind of a
Sam.
Yosemite Sam was kind of
he's just always shooting shit.
yeah. He's a little angry.
Different time. John Mark, what about you?
No, I don't have anything in particular. I was trying to think if there's anything that I watched recently that I want to talk about. I don't know. I kind of changed my schedule at work recently, and I've been getting up a lot earlier, and it's just like I realized that just getting up so early and not getting that much sleep doesn't agree with me, and it makes me feel like
it hurts.
Kind of like a freaking zombie, man. Like my brain is just like fucking mush, you know?
Well, that's fine because I think I've got enough stories to fill. But on that topic, things that used to work that don't. Let me take a quick diversion here. And on the topic of things we're watching. So I've been working on a lot of little projects, magnets and candles, and I'm starting to make gift shop type stuff again because my online store is pathetic these days. So I wanted something to start, and I was like, fuck, I think I might be ready to start The Handmaid's Tale.
Oh, you're ready to love again and die at the same time.
And about 2 days to get through maybe 3 to get through season 1. Yeah. And
wow, that's fast.
Yeah, and that might be part of my problem here.
Did you get rocked like a hurricane? Were you crying like a baby?
No, what I got was angry.
No.
And just like angry. Like all over angry, like just body angry. And I know that this has come up even on the show before, but everybody who has seen this has talked about this. I've seen it all over social media. I know I'm late on the game here. And of course, it's hard to miss all the references of the sexual politics of this country and just some overall like going back to the puritanical thing of this country, especially a few years ago. And when this thing got going. But what's crazy is that on so many other like different levels, it really resonates now with COVID. Even because this started well before COVID. What is it on season 5 now? 4 or 5?
4, I think 4.
Yeah, so this is a few years going, but it's crazy watching it under COVID eyes, if you feel me, because there are so many other weird things happening that this show never could have foreseen, not in a direct way, but clearly whoever put this show together had some serious insight and some serious, like, that sort of, let's be careful which kind of road we want to go down here. And we're seeing so many crazy things on all sides of the political spectrum right now that are just like, man, what is really ultimately happening and where are we really ultimately heading? And it's fucking terrifying. But that aside, it was just, I feel like John Mark might have expressed a similar, we were talking about horror movies several episodes ago, and I feel like, John Mark, correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like you were saying like you were watching a horror film, or maybe you were watching some dark, depressing show, and you expressed that you're like, I don't know if I want to subject myself to this kind of shit anymore. How long, like how much can you even take? And that really resonated with me when I was watching this show. It's like, I don't like, because I finished season 1. And it's, you know, it's a powerful show and it's well done, all of those things. I have no problem with the quality of this show. I started episode 1 of season 2, and even just the recap, I'm like, Jesus Christ, all this again. But then halfway
right?
through episode 1, it's not that anything particularly was happening on screen. I was just like, I think I'm done. And I don't know if I'm done, but I haven't gone back. That was about a week ago. Maybe not quite. And I was like, I may be done, because I had a similar thing. And it was like, I may be done with this kind of, I might be done with watching people strangle puppies for entertainment, if you feel me. I might have seen enough of this shit. Even like Game of Thrones, like some of that shit is so brutal. It's like, I watched Game of Thrones all the way through twice. I don't think I'll ever watch any of it ever again. I don't need to see the Red Wedding again. I don't need to see 100 rapes and 100, oh, that motherfucker's finally going to pay. And like, oh, no, just kidding. Everyone you love is dead and suffering. Spoilers. But this, and that's like fantasy. Like I can at least get lost in some of the fantasy there. The shit that's so real is just like, I don't know. I don't know. I either need a long break from it, or I need the world to get its shit together before I can go back into it. But I couldn't continue it. Even though
I think it's just like some of that is like hitting a little bit too close to home, you know. It's like it's a little bit too close to like
it's not
escapism.
escapism.
A potential reality, and it's like it's not escapism. It's like, oh fuck, this could happen like in a few months or a few years or whatever, right?
And watching it gives you this feeling of powerlessness.
Yeah,
but I feel that same powerlessness when I'm watching the fucking news and I'm seeing people falling to their death in Afghanistan because they were clinging to a wheel of a fucking plane that's escaping to the U.S. and the people wanted out of it so badly that they're hanging on to it. I don't know if you saw that footage. I don't recommend it, but it's fucking, it paints a picture real fucking quick. And I'm like, I don't know. I need some sort of differentiation between my entertainments. And I have such a short, as you guys know, I've got such a short amount of capacity to give to that sort of thing these days anyway. But we'll see. Who knows? Maybe in a week I'll be like, God, what happens? You know, that can get the best of you. But
do you have HBO or HBO Max, whatever it's called these days? Access to HBO shows.
Yeah.
So check out The White Lotus. I don't know if you've heard anything about that. We just watched it. I think it's only like 6 episodes, maybe 7, but I think it's only like 6.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a I don't even know how to describe it. It kind of starts out the first episode, the first scene. It kind of seems like, oh, this is going to be like a whodunit. There's like, obviously someone was killed, but we don't know exactly who. It kind of intimates who it might be, right? And you're like, oh man, I hope that person doesn't die. But but then the whole rest of the show is about these different, it's like different storylines of these people that are at this hotel in Hawaii, right? And how all their lives sort of intersect during like the week or the week and a half that they're there on vacation, and all these like it's a drama, but it's a comedy at the same time. There's like comedic elements, but it's very dramatic. But it's just the characters are all really compelling and into their motivations for doing the things that they're doing, and like, you know what I mean? It was just like really fascinating to me. I really recommend it, and I don't, like I said, I don't know how to describe it exactly other than what I just said, but it's just like, it was just really, really well done, right? And you guys should check it out. If you're looking for something that's like not totally like, oh my God, this is horribly depressing and too close to home, you know? But at the same time, there's like topics that are kind of like relative to today, but not like super, super heavy handed, you know?
I think that it's really interesting. I don't know how to explain it other than that it's like, I almost feel like we are chasing a darkness dragon to some degree between our obsession with true crime, our obsession with these kinds of dark, heavy, horrible to watch for 90% of the time shows, and then 10%, you know, that little 10% where it's like, oh yeah, and here come the comeuppance, does not erase all the unwellness that is now in your body. Like, I was physically getting, like, my face was red. I could feel my blood pressure rising. Like, I was just angry. I was like, this is not good for me. And I do a lot of things that aren't good for me, but entertainment shouldn't be one of them. And I don't know. Like I said, it could have just been a phase, could have been a mood, and maybe I'll be balls deep into it. That was the wrong thing to say with a show like this one, but maybe I'll be back into it. And yeah, I mean, there's a lot of it that I'm glad it's out there. I'm glad that I do feel like it's a timely precautionary tale, but I think that it's timely and precautionary in ways that the filmmakers never could have imagined.
Could I just have
the Ted Lasso train. Oh, sorry.
No, you go ahead.
You guys on the Ted Lasso train?
Okay, real quick, and I want to get to Christopher, but what the fuck is Ted Lasso? I keep seeing that name everywhere. I have no idea what it is.
All right, so if you want the opposite of the fucking Handmaid's Tale, and you want a show that just makes you feel good and feel good about people and life in general,
it's Apple Plus though, right?
It is.
Who's got Apple Plus? Who's got fucking Apple Plus?
I have it.
I don't have it.
And there's actually quite a few good shows on there and some movies and stuff. But I would say it's worth it, just even if you only get it for like a month or something, just to fucking watch Ted Lasso. Okay. Because the second season just came out, and it is you will fucking dig that show.
Well, here's my other problem. I don't know if I want all fun and laughter either.
Well, it's not like that. It's not like that. Like
over here.
It's a comedy show, but it's very it's like a fish out of water sort of show.
Okay. But
it's very earnest, right? And it's not like just like oh funny haha, but it's like very, very earnest in like the things that happen, and it's like it's sort of like true to life in a lot of ways in the way they portray people. But it ends up making you feel good instead of
Ron needs right now terrible. Is Big Brother. He needs Big Brother seasons 6 through 42.
Well, I don't need that. I got Duval Street camera. I got I'm making a collection. I started recording it during the day on OBS or over the night on OBS. Because I'm putting together a compilation of the best / worst moments of the Duval Street camera for a future video cast. No, go ahead, Chris.
Can't wait. In regards to Handmaid's Tale, I don't know that our experiences were too dissimilar. I do know that we watched them at different times. I watched them right when COVID hit, and I was in quarantine, so I had nothing to do. So once a night, we were popping an episode, and I was fucking angry too. But did you feel angry and like mad because the correlation from where they are to where we are didn't feel that far away?
Maybe. I think that was well, definitely, but I think that was a couple layers below. Okay. I think it was just even surface level. Just I think I might be, in if you can picture a meter being all the way to the left in the green, all the way to the right in the red. I think I'm pegging pretty dark yellow. So anything right now that is pushing me immediately into the red.
I will say this. As that show progresses, it gets more about like this. I've been through hell and now it's revenge time. Like, and don't get me wrong, it's still very Game of Thrones. People gonna die. There's terrible things, but like it takes a different tone.
Okay. Well, I assumed it did, and again, my curiosity will likely get the better of me because I took a 4-5 year break from Walking Dead. I'm about to go back into them shits just to get caught.
I did that too, and it gets good again. There's a season where it takes a turn, but
the last episode I saw.
Oh fuck!
The campfire, around the campfire scene. That was the last episode I saw. Doozy of an episode.
The one where somebody dies from Negan.
Yeah, somebody dies famously.
Yeah.
But before they die, they're injured.
Oh yes.
Let's just put it that way.
That's a tough one. But that show will take another turn. Give it a chance. There's a couple seasons that feel rough right after around there. But yeah, man, and I would recommend Handmaid's Tale. It's like they honed the craft of the shooting of that show. It gets so beautiful, the shots, like unlike any show I've ever seen.
Well, you said something that resonated with me. You watched one episode per night on average, yeah?
Yeah.
I marathon those motherfuckers, so that means back to
No,
back
it
to
hurt
back to
me.
back. These are not the kinds of shows you can marathon. I think
And as somebody,
that might
as
be my
you are a
problem.
parent now too, you've been spending so much time with the girls, like that hurt me as a parent watching that, and that's why I couldn't fucking do it. But I wanted to see where that story went, and it
Yeah.
is a beautifully made show, like start to finish. And
Now,
like I
is
said,
it still going or is it done?
yeah, the fourth season just came out, I think, and I think there's one more coming, but I don't know.
Okay, so it's still going.
I haven't brought myself to watch it. It's been out for months now, and I just haven't been in a good like mental space to watch that yet.
Well, you guys know where I'm coming from then.
Yes,
Like you
but
totally feel me.
will go back to it, and I recommend you do too.
Yeah, I'm sure I will.
Not really.
But it might be next month. It might be.
I'm really
next year.
surprised, dude, that you could sit through that. Being the type of person you are, you're always overdoing everything, like with your music, with your painting, with your art, with the radar, station, with the magazine,
Mhm.
I'm surprised you even have 5 seconds to watch a fucking movie.
Well, I don't look at it. I don't look at it much.
Well, my point is that I gave up cable like 8 years ago. I never went back.
Yeah.
I don't sit around and waste 3 hours of my day watching, fictional shit.
Right.
I'd rather do something productive. That's what kind of drives me. I'm really surprised that
I don't.
put it down.
I see what you're saying, and listen. If I had my druthers, I would have capacity to watch a movie or an episode of a really good television program every single day. I think I get endless amounts of inspiration from movies and well-made shows and watching other things. I don't personally consider that a waste of time. I just have not had the time. Like the way that I have I suppose built my life, it just hasn't catered to that. But no, I love it. In fact, I've Christopher has inspired me with this whole album club thing. I want to do something like this down the road where we're talking about movies. One of my favorite things to do is watch and discuss movies. It was one of my favorite things to do at Radar Station. And the first thing that I'm trying to organize as Radar Station pop-up events is getting these movie nights going again, because I missed being Willy Wonka, making the popcorn and getting the scene set and playing the right overture music while everyone gets seated, and then showing up and then giving people trivia, little history about, I just love all that shit. So no, I love all this stuff, and I do consider it worthy time to a point. But the things that I've been doing over the last couple weeks are pretty basic. Like I'm just sitting in a chair, cutting out little squares with my X-Acto knife, gluing it onto other things, pouring resin on top of it. I'm experimenting with a lot of what they call knickknacks. The kids call knickknacks for the gift shop. So there are some things that I do that I can't focus on a show, especially something heavy and pretty convoluted as The Handmaid's Tale. But these fucking shows now, we've talked about this, they are movies. They're like 50-hour movies, and it's just like, this is amazing, and I want to enjoy them. I want to devour as much as I can. It has a bit of priority for me.
Some of it,
so much good shit out there, man.
I get what you're talking about, where it gets you kind of like upset, whatnot, when you're watching it.
Yeah.
I'll stop by and visit friends, and they'll be watching, whatever they're watching, and it's like I can't stand it. I just got to go. I'm like, well, it's been fun, and I'll pick off.
Well, between that and social media and any news that you might actually see, it's like it can very quickly and very easily add up to something that's not good for us, even though it's firing something in our brains that makes us think this is what we want. And this is what, I don't know if it's, obviously we don't need any of it, but we just go to it, it's sort of an addiction. And so when you got all this other shit, that's what I'm saying, is like, I feel like a lot of life lately has me, and I think most of us, pegged in the dark yellow. We're all this close to going into the red, and it's only going to get worse. And this is why I understand why I don't care what you believe and what you're doing concerning COVID, what you're doing concerning the politics of where you live, wherever you're at. I understand you being pissed off, and I understand you looking at a whole bunch of people, usually it's halfish, in your nation, in your town, in your state, whatever. I understand you looking over the aisle and thinking, this is all your fucking fault. But we are so crazy and ramped up right now that I'm starting to cringe every time I see, I don't care how eloquent it is, on Facebook or Twitter, something always ends up just being jabby. And we are starting to poke each other with sticks at this point, and it's not a good idea. Like I really just, I wish more people could see how dangerous things actually are right now. I saw some dude just casually flip a guy off driving by because of some trucker that was fucking with him. I saw it, the whole road rage thing happen in front of me. It's like, motherfucker, yeah, that guy was fucking with you, but that middle finger is not a middle finger of normal times. That's a middle finger flying in times of unprecedented hostilities, and especially in the U.S. I know it's crazy everywhere concerning COVID, but politically here, things have been pretty crazy over the past few years, and there's just like all these tensions and anger, and I don't know, man. I feel like something big and crazy is coming, and I just don't like seeing people poking each other.
It's well deserved, because I mean, we're some of the lucky few that survived through the COVID shit. You know, none of us lost our houses. You know, none of us lost our jobs. You know, that I'm talking between us four. But there's hundreds of people that did lose their houses. There's hundreds of people that did lose their jobs, you know, and
or lives.
Not so their lives, and it wasn't because of a choice they made, you know. So I mean, it's a different world out there for sure.
So imagine I don't know. I think that when you prop your feet up at the end of the day and you're clicking through your Roku, it's like you have all these options, and like to pull up something like A Handmaid's Tale it's an interesting choice right now, because it is kind of like coming home from your day job of, you know, building fucking apple boxes, to start building apple boxes as a hobby. You know what I mean? It's like at some point we need to shut down and shut off. And Chris, you mentioned something. You said that you hadn't been online all week. Are you purposefully avoiding social media?
No, I just had a family in town, 2 different sets, so I've just been fucking busy.
Okay,
my kids' daycare's out, yeah.
But you weren't purposefully avoiding it.
No, just enough time.
But you did.
Yeah.
Did you feel any different?
You know, I'm so tired from family. Like, it's all like I can, you know, you have family in town. I've had toddlers, and it's just like a lot. So I felt tired. Old. I just felt old, Ron.
Well, I had a little experience last week where I was starting to go through the rabbit hole of scrolling, and it was like, what? A similar like realization of starting season 2 of Handmaid's Tale. I was like, why am I doing this? This doesn't feel good. I can walk away from this. And so I put my phone down and I just put on some records, and I made like a little post, like saying, put your phone down. Well, first I deleted. I spent a good day deleting all the people that I see posting shit that I don't agree with. It's like, it's time to get that out of here. I don't care if they're friends of mine that I run into all the time, and they're going to ask me, hey, did you delete me? I'll tell them I'm past a different door now, where for a long time I would just unfollow or just not engage. I'm past a different door where I want them out of my life. I just am. But then I went to the records and I was like, God, why do I feel so good right now? Like, just digging into my records. It felt like old times. It felt like something like a simpler life. And I didn't have all this bullshit in my head. I was like, oh, right. Because I've been avoiding the storm, that will rage on whether I'm looking at it or not. And it's just like, we have to have these awakenings every so often, that we can just walk away from a thing. We can walk away from a toxic person, a toxic relationship, a bad job, living in a town that's not right for you, switch political parties. We can move away from things that we sometimes forget. We can move away from. Like, these things are not our life. Our life is whatever we make it. And as stupid and simple as that sounds, it's not simple in practice, because we get so magnetically pulled back into whatever rut we have been carving for, the bulk of the past decade or couple of decades. It's a fight. It's like quitting drinking or giving up sex or something for a month. You're not just going to sail through it. You have to physically and mentally prepare yourself for an absence from this thing that is not healthy for you. And even just a few days away from social media and spending time doing things that I love, which is not something that I do. I kind of just work and sleep. And so
it's mind changing, man. I'll tell you what, when I got sick and I was forced to lose my job, I had a cell phone with me. I had it with me every fucking day, every second of the fucking day. Mm-hmm. There's times I left it at home, and I'd venture outside my house without my cell phone. And I tell you what, it was the most liberating feeling to not have it, and not need it,
Yeah.
And that's something, that evolved with me, with social media. I know you got thousands and thousands and thousands of friends on Facebook. I was pretty selective on who I accepted as a friend.
Thousands.
So I think what, probably 3,000.
On Facebook, I think I've got it at around maybe 1,500.
1,500.
But then another 1,500 or so followers on. I guess if you could count all the pages, the podcast and Radar Station and my page, it probably is about 3,000.
I looked through mine the other day, and I had like 60 friend requests, and I'm like, I don't know any of you. It's like I don't know. I'm not going to accept it because I don't know who you are.
Yeah. Well, I wonder. It's such a funny thing because social media I always have tried to defend it to some degree and saying, well, it is what you make of it, but it's not, because we aren't in control of it. We can try to trick the algorithms, and we can try to.
You are what they make of you.
Yeah, absolutely. That's exactly what it is. And we think, there's a little bit of ropes that they allow us to pull to try to change the look of things and reorganize who you see. But ultimately, they are showing you what they want to show you. So, yeah, it's just a tough thing to try to maintain the good parts. And there are a lot of good parts about social media, but it's tough to try to maintain that with. There's
some, but like I said, when all that stuff went down, so did I quit using social media. Also, it's basically just an echo of the show. If you look in the posts, because it's just the copies of the posts of our shows.
Yeah. And I rarely post anything from a personal standpoint. It's usually just posting, here's a painting I did, or here's a memory from Radar Station, or here's the new episode. Yeah, my feed isn't terribly dissimilar. If I do post anything, it's another picture of my cat.
It's really weird how like social media has evolved. If you look back at like the MySpace days of just trying to post those glitter posts.
Yeah.
Your little,
Did you get the butterfly mouse?
Yeah.
I know I say it every time MySpace comes up. One of the coolest aspects of MySpace was the greeting song when you went to somebody's page. You remember that? You had a home song. You could put the music player on your home page. It's like that told you a lot about who you just met, or what your friends that you haven't seen since high school are up to these days. Well, looking at the clock, I had a whole bunch of stories left. I'm gonna cut to the last two here. I feel like we talk about a lot of weird shit over the years. I don't know that this particular phenomenon has ever come up. You guys prove me wrong. The headline sort of tells the tale. 59-year-old man has ladybug living in his butt. So here's the story.
Buried the lead on that one, did they?
Now, of all the things that you hope your dog doesn't find in your poop chute during a colon inspection, I would wager that live insects have to be pretty low on your fear list. And yet, so a 59-year-old man was given that very news when a living ladybug was discovered literally just hanging out in his colon like she was on a flower petal in your garden. Now,
Eggs.
lest you think you were getting out of this without a photo, here it comes.
Oh, fuck.
Well, here's the thing. The photo's not as bad as you might be imagining.
Here's the thing. They make cameras really small that go up your ass.
It's kind of fascinating to look at because
it's got cute.
This is literally just a ladybug hanging on the side of a wall of a small log, hollow log.
Oh, yes.
You can tell that it's fleshy. You can probably tell that it's a sphinx, but it's somewhere in that lower intestine, and it has plenty of room. I'm fascinated by so much of this, but anyway, the further details is now the docs don't know for sure how the ladybug got into his butt, but they think that it likely just crawled into his mouth, the man's mouth, while he was sleeping, and because of the cocktail of prep chemicals that they give you before a colonoscopy, his innards were completely flushed clean and empty, and his stomach acids would have been a little thinned out and neutralized because they want you completely empty of food and debris while they scope you out. And look, that tunnel is, for being a poop chute, that looks clean as a whistle.
You could eat off that.
You could eat off it, and that ladybug may be doing just. Now, if you had to find out that a bug was living in your butthole, I think you could do worse than a ladybug. And apparently you can, because this, unfortunately, is not a freakish case. Many bugs, usually dead, have been found during colonoscopies in similar wall-clinging fashion, including beetles, crickets, and cockroaches.
Oh, nasty.
Shudder. So it makes me butthole pucker just thinking about them shits. Ladybug in the butt. Not the best sex toy on the market, but look at that picture. It's like hanging out in a fucking culvert that runs underground. There's so much room for that thing to just be sitting on the side of anyway, I was shocked shocked that that's physically possible. Okay, one more. I'll save these others for the next.
Could you imagine like an earwig doing that?
Oh, I'm sure it's happened.
Ew,
If a cricket and a beetle and cockroaches can get in there, why not earwig? Anything that can crawl into your mouth, and you're in this sort of situation. Look, if you're going to be, it makes you wonder how many of these things you just pooped out, because that's normally how it would happen. But this guy was completely cleaned by all of these pre-colonoscopy treatments. And so they usually only find them stuck to your innard wall when it's this sort of situation. They do find it from time to time. Good fucking grief. Okay, last story of the day. A Wisconsin woman accidentally shot a friend while using the laser sight on a handgun to play with her cat.
Oh, God.
I'm so glad that she shot her friend and not the cat. The guy didn't die. Now, a criminal complaint charging that 19-year-old woman, used negligent use of a weapon. I'm reading this right off the side, obviously. Whiskey is really kicking in. She was visiting a Kenosha apartment on Tuesday afternoon when she picked up a handgun that had been brought by a 21-year-old man. The woman who a witness, sorry, the whiskey is words I didn't have to read for the last half hour. The woman who a witness said had been drinking turned on the laser sight and was it's like a fucking something that would have happened in like Hot Shots, except they would have shot the cat. Turned on the laser sight and was pointing it at the floor to get the cat to chase it. The complaint filed Thursday said, and the gun went off, and the man who was standing in the hallway was shot in the thigh. Charges are being pressed. We have cat toys for that, folk. Do not grab your gun to get your cat dancing around.
Too good.
Realistically, dude, that shit's really, really bad for your animals. I have a friend of mine that used to fuck around with a laser thing with their dog, and totally fucked that dog up.
It could be especially bad for dogs. Yeah, I've seen cats get a little because they get obsessed.
Well, every time they'd see a glint of like the sun bouncing off fucking metal, that it would trigger it off.
Yeah,
and, it's just really bad.
Yeah,
Fuck
I've seen it.
Yeah.
I've never seen a cat act that way. I've seen them get pretty fucking interested, but I have absolutely seen tons of footage of little dogs like wigging out on it. My dog doesn't even she's looked at it, but she's like, the fuck is that? And she's more interested in what the cats are freaked out about. But yeah, it is. I think they've started putting warnings on them now. They always came with warnings of don't put this in your eye, dummy. But now I think they say, look for these specific behaviors in your animal because you could be wrecking them for life. It's like giving them fucking crack or some shit. It's crazy.
Damn, that's nuts.
Well, I'm done. Shall we take a quick recess and then get back here for news quiz? And we're looking good time-wise to give Chris plenty of time to meander about his pick.
Perfect. See you guys in a minute.
2 and 2. I are
Oh
back.
man, I am nervous and excited to share my album pick with you guys. I hope you guys.
I am dying to know what made you fall in love with Creed, and I'm hoping that you take us higher.
Fucking wow! I'm so upset right now. My thunder has been taken. I might as well quit. Okay.
Life is hurt. The album where
I used to really, really like a band called what was it called? Oh, that's gonna kill me because I don't remember the fucking band name. Damn it!
Yeah, all of us really.
They did a Santa Monica song.
Oh, Everclear.
No. They're like.
Are you thinking of Sublime?
Wait, Santa Monica, Dead Man Theory of a Dead Man.
Oh.
Theory of a Dead Man
Santeria.
is a Canadian band, but it was nestled and nurtured by fucking Nickelback. In fact, Nickelback wrote a lot of their songs. I didn't know this, and I really liked that band. And then I found that out, and then I could hear it. The Nickelback.
The Nickelback influence.
And then I'm like, God damn it, I hate fucking Nickelback.
Listen, this Nickelback is this close to being a decent band by most measures. And they are a decent band by most measures. It's just like, I don't know, for whatever reason they became the ones.
Creed.
Yeah, Creed. Creed gets a lot of it too. Okay. Let's get to...
We are going to do Strange Triv. I've got it ready here. 4 questions. Lyle, you're going to go first tonight. You're playing for our friend James Shepard. John Mark, you're playing for TJ, which is important tonight, and I will explain why. And Ron, you're going to be playing for our friend Abby Holmes.
Abby!
Oh, sorry, Abby. Missed that girl. She's been on the show. Well, I don't think she's been on this one, but she was on the old one several times.
Yeah, I missed that girl too. Okay. Question 1 is a listener submitted question, so that means 2 points. And the lovely TJ actually has this question and another one she sent me in the same email, so it's perfect. So we have 2 listener submitted questions tonight, both by the lovely TJ. We're 2 points a pop. And as always, I love getting these stories from you fucking weirdos. Feel free to email me at christopher.bizarre@gmail.com. And I'll turn this into whatever you send me into a wacky little question here. Okay. Back in June, Google Trends released a bunch of state-by-state statistics about search terms. Currently, for Washington State, our state, what is our most misspelled word?
Oh, that's easy.
Oh, good. Lyle, I can't wait to hear it. Is it A? Theirs. And that is theirs.
Yeah.
Fucking theirs.
Good one.
You know.
Is it B? Affected with an A.
Affected.
Affected. Okay.
Is it C?
B.
Definitely.
Definitely. That's a pretty easy one.
Or is it D? Quarantine.
Ooh.
We should all know that one by heart by now.
Lyle.
I'm gonna go with theirs.
Gonna go with A. Theirs.
They're,
Theirs.
there, and there. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Your, and your.
It's a
similar
fucked one
thing.
is goes. Like how's it going or goes? How's it go? If you're typing that, that's not what you think.
How? Because there's an E.
Yeah, there's an E there.
Fair enough,
It's
brother.
not G-O apostrophe S.
No.
You know what the one word is that I can never spell even close enough to get autocorrect to guess?
What?
Necessary.
That's a tough one. Mine's convenience or inconvenience is the worst.
Interesting.
All right. Okay, John Mark, what are you gonna go with, buddy?
Can you go over the question real quick?
Yeah, Google Trends released a bunch of state-by-state statistics about search terms. Currently, for Washington State, this word is the most misspelled word. Theirs, and that is theirs. Affected, as in that affected me. Definitely, and then quarantine.
And I don't know. I'm gonna go with quarantine.
Okay.
Should definitely.
Did Jen just tell you to stop?
No doubt.
Collaborate.
The
And
dog had my socks in his mouth and he wasn't letting them go.
Dirty, dirty dog.
Are you sure?
Socks and cans,
kids are
motherfucker.
calling them these
Here,
days.
destroy 'em.
I'm sure it wasn't stop, collaborate, and listen.
Okay.
Oh, sorry.
What are you gonna go with, Bronster?
Yeah, I'm feeling theirs.
What?
I bet you're feeling theirs.
What is, yeah, I'm gonna go with that. That's a big one.
Perfect. Going with they. All right, question 2. There's no question that the Marvel Cinematic Universe, as they continue to unfold, some genuine movie stars were born from that. But it's a bit shocking to learn just how much more Robert Downey Jr. made on his later films than his earlier ones. So, in fact, Robert Downey Jr. made this much more on Iron Man 3 than he made on Iron Man 1. And this is in 2 times, 3 times. I'll give you some options here.
Okay.
But how much more did he make on Iron Man 3 than he made on Iron Man 1? Was it 5 times more, 10 times more, 20 times more, or 100 times more?
Oh, wow. I would say, because it's very important that you kind of keep your role. I was just thinking about this the other day with Brendan Fraser, with The Mummy.
Yeah.
Awesome movie. God, that first one was so good. And then The Scorpion King, fucking pretty cool. They did the third one, and they didn't use the same actress as his wife that's been in the first 2. Complete bomb shit.
Yeah,
Complete bomb shit.
Was The Rock in that one? Or was he in all of them?
No. It was his wife. Brandon Fraser's wife in the movie, the Mummy, the 3.
Why am I thinking that The Rock had anything to do? Anyway.
He was the Scorpion King in the spinoff, yeah.
Oh, okay.
2. Well, yeah, and the Scorpion King.
Yeah, Brendan Fraser probably went the other direction.
It's not looking good these
Did he
days.
get 5 times less? 10 times less?
But it's very important to keep that to perceive that actor in that role. You don't want to just on the next movie just completely fucking absent-mindedly not hire that actor.
It's tough.
Because
it's tough when you
sense.
do that.
We can't get our brains to click on it, and it's just it's garbage. So I'm going to say 20.
20 times more.
Yeah.
Now I'm also going to give you an opportunity for a bonus point. I'm going to give a bonus point to whoever can guess closest how much he made on Iron Man 1, because we'll know. We can do the quick math.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. So how much do you think he made on filming Iron Man 1?
Oh, I would say 10 million.
10 mil. Okay. John Mark, what are you going to go with, buddy? If you need me to run it down again, I can. It's 5 times more, 10 times more, 20 times. Okay. So Robert Downey Jr. made this much more on Iron Man 3 than he made on Iron Man 1. Was it 5 times more, 10 times more, 20, or 100?
I'm going to go with 10.
Okay. And how much do you think he made in Iron Man 1?
Let's say 2 million.
Okay, I'm going closest, not Price is Right rules, by the way, just so you guys know. Okay, Ronster, what are you gonna go with, baby?
Give me my number options real quick.
5 times, 10 times, 20 times, or 100 times?
Fuck it. I'm gonna go 100 times because
Ronster.
Here's the thing.
Love it.
I'm probably wrong on that, but I'm right. I know I'm right on that. He would have been paid, I would guess, a surprisingly low wage on that first Iron Man, because you got to think about where his career arc.
This is some good analyzing right here.
He had some movies, and he was definitely part of some big hit movies, but Iron Man made it so that he could do something as insane as Tropical Thunder, right? That Tropical Thunder came after, didn't it? Or was it?
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
yeah, of course.
That was blackface. Now, blackface was the bit of the movie, which is another reason why I guess he probably got away with it. But he was in blackface, and then all of a sudden, everyone just loved him again. So I would say I'd be surprised if he even got $1 million for the first Iron Man. Maybe $1 million. I'll say $1 million for the first Iron Man.
Okay.
And also, that was it sort of, we had the Spider-Man movies, of course. We had other comic book movies on DC, Batman, of course. But the Marvel Universe hadn't become what it is now. We could not have foreseen, maybe they did, but I couldn't have foreseen where all of this would fucking go. So, I bet that movie overall didn't even cost as much as we would guess.
That's some interesting speculation. Okay, we'll get there when we get there.
That's an interesting way to be wrong, Ron.
Question 3.
Tone.
Again, we're going to double down with TJ, a little bit of TJ in these questions here. So the listener submitted, again, worth 2 points. A 33-year-old Detroit man was renovating his home when he tore apart an embankment and was astonished to find this in the soil. Was it A, half of a brontosaurus?
Bronto.
Again, Detroit. I know you'll ask me, John Mark. Is it B, 1,800 mason jars full of well-preserved beets? Is it C, 16 tons of sparkling black sand? Or is it D, 158 bowling balls? What did he, as he was excavating basically an embankment, as he was trying to renovate his home, did he find in the soil? Was it half a brontosaurus skeleton, 1,800 mason jars full of well-preserved beets, 16 tons of sparkling black sand, or 158 bowling balls? Lyle, what you gonna go with, baby?
Well, my question is if his neighbors were watching when he uncovered the beets, would he be beating off?
Oh
boy, interesting.
Oh my!
Where do we get these terms anyway?
I don't know.
Nobody does.
Nobody does, unless they're watching. Damn. I'm gonna go with the bowling balls. No,
that's a great choice. All right, I was going with D. Okay, John Mark.
Well, I don't know much about the geological composition of the soil in Detroit.
But if you did,
don't sell yourself short, John Mark.
Or what they might be farming there.
Norway has very nice black sand.
I know Iceland does, don't they? For sure.
Yeah, Iceland does. Oh, fuck yeah.
But I feel like Detroit and bowling balls go together somehow. So I'm gonna go with that.
Okay. Putting you down for a D as well. Ronster, where are you gonna go, baby?
Well, I'm gonna make it a family game. Mostly because why would these two so confidently get behind bowling balls? Also, you had a specific number for how many bowling balls there were.
I did.
And also, I saw this story. It was funny is that I sent Christopher a list of all the topics that I had planned for the show. This one was actually the first one on the list. It just,
how did I miss that?
I edited it. before I sent it to you. So I was like, this is gonna go too long, and I want Chris to have plenty of time to shoot the shit. So sorry, I
lucky
ruined that
you.
one, but I thought it was kind of funny.
Lucky you. Okay. Question 4. This next story was actually sent to me by multiple listeners, so I had to share it. Let's see how you guys do here. Recently, a new record was set for what can be fetched at auction for a video game. Just a few months ago, a copy of this game sold at auction for over $1.5 million, nearly doubling the previous record, which was about $800,000 for a pristine copy of the original Zelda game, the gold one for NES. So, what was the game that just set the record $1.5 million? Was it A, a sealed copy of Super Mario 64?
Bum, 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 ba-da-da.
It's a millionaire.
64. That was a polarizing console.
Oh, you are out of your goddamn mind. That was an era. That was an era, sir.
Oh, man.
You were just a little bit older.
We are polarized on that.
Yeah.
Up, down, left, right.
Don't get me wrong. The NES and SNES are my babies, but I was still young enough and I had so much fun playing that N64. It was great. I lost it at the GameCube. That's where I was like, meh.
I believe that. I believe that because I was kind of raised on Atari, and then I went from ColecoVision to.
Oh, well, you are in luck, sir, because option B is Red Sea Crossing for the Atari, which I believe is biblical.
I don't know. I think Combat and I think Pitfall were the main games.
Was it C? A prototype copy of the first version of Tetris.
What if that was on the Game Boy?
Was it D? Nintendo World Championships Gold Edition NES cartridge.
Okay.
One of these things just went for $1.5 million at auction.
What was the last one?
Tough.
Nintendo World Championships Gold Edition NES cartridge.
Is that like
it was an extremely limited edition NES cartridge?
Yeah, it's pretty rare.
What'd you say?
It was just like one of those collection of like Olympic games. I had a bunch of those on the Commodore. They're actually pretty fun.
Yeah, they're really hard to find, sought after. You don't see.
I don't think anyone gave a shit about them, so they became rare. Funny how that works. The things that no one wanted.
We're hoping to have this podcast.
Hey, you know what's fucking stupid? I watch a dude on Twitch, and he has actually a bunch of these just the boxes that these games came in, and they're all worth like $20,000-$30,000 by grade, because they're like 8 to 9 grade.
God, that's interesting, because in many cases the boxes would be even more rare than the cartridges. Like, how many of us kept our fucking boxes? But if you got a rare box on a rare game, that's that can buy a house.
I'll talk about that a little bit. And okay, so let's see, Lyle, what are you gonna go with, baby? You need me to run it down again?
I would like a rundown.
Okay, so again, just broke the record for a game at auction, $1.5 million. Was it a sealed copy of Super Mario 64, Red Sea Crossing for the Atari, a prototype copy of the first version of Tetris, or Nintendo World Championships Gold Edition NES cartridge?
I was going to go with Tetris, but I'm going to go with A. I'm going to go with Super Mario Brothers, because that actually is worth a lot of money.
Oh, this is 64 though, remember?
Just the box. Yeah, just the box is worth a lot of money. Like, we're talking about a lot of money. So the game itself has to be worth a lot of money too.
Okay. John Mark, what are you going to go with, baby?
Well, Lyle's convinced me. I'm going to go with A as well.
Interesting. Good shit. Okay. Let me just get that. Put you down for a song. Ronster, what you got?
Well, I feel like I may be chasing the gold herring, but I am actually familiar with that cartridge. I've seen discussions about it. I know how rare they are. I don't know if it's that rare, but I don't recognize what was the Red Baron Crossing? Red
Sea Crossing.
That makes more sense. Red Baron Pizza, what? Never heard of that one at all. I'm going to go with the gold World Olympics or Athlete, whatever that one is. I know of that story at least.
Perfect.
At one point, I remember seeing people talk about how rare that one was. Wasn't it?
Excellent.
There's something like where, God, maybe I'm making this up, but I feel like there was a silver one and maybe there's a bronze one. But I feel like you had to win the gold version. Like they released the game. I could be making this up. There's games like this though, where they released the game, and if they had like a contest, like who could get the high score, who could do the best, and whatever. And then you got maybe I'm wrong on that, but I know this is a rare game.
Well, something else that I've been a PC gamer for quite a long time, like since the '90s, and I've saved every box. I used to save them on a shelf.
Buy a house, huh?
Years ago, and then they kind of moved into my closet, and so I filled up my entire closet, and then I put it in a giant like bag. But I still have them; they're still there. And I remember, like, we're talking about like back in the '90s, so like all of the Tomb Raiders that kind of came in diamond boxes and stuff like that. They still had the goodies in them, because when I get them, I just get the game out, and leave all the stuff in them, and then just put them on the shelf. So when I found out that those games boxes were worth a lot of money, what you have to take in consideration is they have to take them to a facility that grades them, and it grades them from a scale to like 0 to 100, and it goes like from A down to like I don't know, like F or whatever. So you want to get like a high grade, like an A, like a 90 or a 90 is even like it'd be prestige, but like some of those things are worth like just a shit ton of money.
Mm-hmm.
So I was thinking about actually setting them up and selling them on eBay.
Yeah,
because people,
fuck yeah. What are you gonna do with them?
It's what they collect them. They collect boxes.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you don't even have to put the game in there. But I'd probably
just ship them with photos of the crippler inside as a little bonus.
Right.
Add a little, just a little value. Well, not a little value. All right, where are we at?
Okay, let's go over the answers here. Okay, question 1, does a listener submit a question? So this is 2 points. Back in June, Google Trends released a bunch of state-by-state statistics about search terms. Currently for Washington State, our most misspelled word is quarantine. John Mark got that correct for 2 points, putting him on the board first.
Wow.
Currently, that's pretty current too. It's that, huh?
This is why I don't argue with people on Facebook, folks.
TJ is looking good so far. Off to a good lead here.
I just saw somebody misspell that the other day on like Twitter or something. I was like, oh yeah, there you go.
Huh.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Okay, question 2. We know that as the Marvel Cinematic Universe continues to unfold, like we are gaining movie stars we didn't have before. Chris Pratt. I mean, Robert Downey Jr. arguably. But a lot of these characters, Thor, Chris Hemsworth, he's a fucking household name now. It's crazy.
Yeah.
So, and Ron was definitely onto something when he said, where was Robert Downey Jr. when he started this journey? And he wasn't in the best of places. I mean, he was coming back off of, doing prison.
Yeah. Yeah, so, his career was done.
So he actually made 100 times more on Iron Man 3 than he made on Iron Man 1. So good call, Ron. Good reach there. You're going to get that. But not only that, but you got close. He only made $500,000 on Iron Man 1. So you guessed a mill. You were close.
I even thought.
So
wow.
Interesting. So 100 times more than 500,000 is what?
500 million. He made $500 million on Iron Man 3 with a
How
combination.
The fuck? So obviously the actors. See, I was trying to figure out so does the movie budget factor in the actors' salaries when they say, "Oh, this movie cost $250 million to make"? Obviously, it doesn't. When you're talking that kind of money, right?
Well, there was a certain. He worked out a points deal or something, so he earned a percentage of the actual.
That would be 50 million, not 500 million.
100 times $500,000 is 50 million. Maybe I have. Are you sure?
Still a shit ton of money. Yeah,
that makes more sense, I guess. But still, it's like there's movies that cost less than that to make. You know what I mean? Like,
hold on.
If people are making $500 million per movie these days, then we do have some discussions to have.
Yeah, because I was going to say, like, some of the most expensive movies ever made are not even.
Math is not my strong suit. I could be wrong.
He was given an upfront $20 million and later paid $55 million as part of a back-end deal. Yeah, I had that wrong. Whoopsies. Just one little slip of the
It's still, the math is
still
right.
still 100, still 100, but yeah, so
Interesting.
yeah. Okay. Ronster with 2 points on that one.
Good. Needed it.
Yeah, tying you up with John Mark there. So still
Fight TJ with TJ. You know what I'm saying?
Shit. Oh shit. Okay. Question 3. Another listener submitted worth 2 points. A 33-year-old Detroit man was renovating his home when he tore apart an embankment and was astonished to find 158 bowling balls. Ronster saw it. He was absolutely right. You were all absolutely right for 2 points.
Oh, that was the other TJ question.
That was the other TJ question.
Now my last comment makes sense. To everyone else.
Okay.
All right.
So still Ron and John Mark are
Still looking good.
tied here.
Looking okay.
Okay, question 4.
Yeah, 150. It was adjacent to a bowling ball manufacturer, if I remember right.
Yeah, they I guess back in the day it was a Brunswick facility was there, and when they would discontinue shit or need to just get rid of stuff, a lot of people would use it in landscaping.
Yeah, because you got to pay for topsoil, you got to pay for rock to build up your property and shape it. If you got a bunch of free bowling balls, you only need a truckload of dirt to pack that in.
Indeed.
Hilarious.
Okay, let's see what happens here in question 4.
Isn't it funny how we all have an ample, like we all have a surplus of something.
Yeah,
like no one who grew up around here gets too excited when they see a fresh apple, but some people do. Like, oh my God, you are surrounded by fresh, like apples growing off trees. I felt that way about avocados down in California.
That's funny.
Bowling balls in Indiana.
Feel that way about weed. You've got this just line growing out of the ground.
It's legal here. I know a lot of people still feel that way. Isn't that crazy? So much of the country is still illegal.
I mean, like when I think about moving away, I do think about the states that are not legal. I'm like, no, can't do.
Is this or Colorado? Where am I going?
Cannot do. Okay, question 4. Recently, a new record was set for what can be fetched at auction for video games. Just a few months ago, a copy of this game was sold at auction for $1.5 million. We were talking about a sealed copy of Super Mario 64.
Oh, you guys.
Oh, John Mark got correct.
Why would I not go with the gamers?
Yeah, you should have, fool. You should have.
Good gold herring,
the good news is, let's see here. Who actually was in? John Mark was playing for TJ. So TJ is going to move on in to the next championship round. And that makes me feel good.
Which will be next week,
good.
Yeah?
No, episode? we have to fetch one more. So we have Ben and TJ. Sarah, I promise my shipping package will be coming. I got blindsided by family this week, but I will be shipping your prize. I probably will beat Ron before he satisfies Jeff.
We will see. And I do owe Ben a painting, but it was from some other contest that happened before we started.
Good thing you're consistent.
It's got to be a year away at this point. I'm so sorry, you guys. Okay. I'm trying. But not hard, man. Obviously. I told Ben, your patience will be rewarded eventually. Yeah. And it will.
Okay, you guys ready to do my album, or do you need a break? I'm
ready to rock. Let's do this. I'm dying to know.
Let's do it.
I've been really excited about this. I thought really long and hard about this. I listened to this album front to back, back to front. I dove into weird videos and learned more about this album than I even thought I knew, which was really fucking cool for me. So let's start down a little journey of musical taste for me. I didn't have a lot of friends that would share music with me early on. Like that's where you get your music taste from back in the day when we didn't have internet, right? You fucking a friend turns you on to something or whatever. So all I listened to was a lot of country, which sucked because I knew it wasn't for me. So I remember eventually when I was about 15, 14 years old, I heard a song on the radio that style of music just resonated with me. It hit me so hard. It resonated with me, and I was like, I just like John Mark when you started describing what that band did to you when you heard it, and you were like, I need more of this. I didn't know that things could sound like this. That fucking resonated with me. I was like, this is exactly what happened. Do you want to take any? Wait, before I go down any further, Ronster, did you have any guests? I know you had some guesses on what band this was going to be.
Well, you've swayed me toward Offspring to some degree because you were I've never heard anybody say the drummer of Offspring is my favorite drummer. Before you said that, I would have said something like Thrice. And I'm still, but you said you heard it on the radio.
But I'm not. This is also maybe throwing you because this is not the band I'm settling on. This is the band the Gateway band.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm gonna go with Offspring.
Okay. Okay. So the band I heard on the radio that started to change my life was Green Day. Fucking Dookie.
Oh, that's in the same wheelhouse.
Album that really hit me, like the bass playing, the drumming, just the rhythm of it. I don't know what it was. I was like, this is music I could get really into. Yeah. That really led me down a different route. Like I got into Blink-182's first album was like, holy shit, this is great for me.
Pop punk.
But pop punk for sure, but also just punk, like a version of, there's a lot of different genres, subgenres of punk. But another album that I fell into my lap when I was 15 years old was Life in General by MXPX. Did you guys ever listen to MXPX, Phil?
A Bremerton band. I only knew for years and years. In fact, almost to this day, I guess I really only know Chick Magnet because that was on MTV. That was a big hit. I saw it all the time anyway.
I just know that song that he talked about, and there's probably like one or two others that they played on the end all the time.
Sure.
Back in the day.
God, they looked like little kids in that video. That's so long.
For sure. They were fucking 19 years old. Anyway, so that led me to a love of punk, and I fell into so many different bands. I mean, I got into Fat Record stuff, NoFX, Bad Religion, all that stuff, Goldfinger. Like that was my life, and I lived that. The Warped Tour, that was where I was, and I happened to be working at Circuit City my senior year of high school, and I met a guy named Adam, and Adam was the coolest guy. There's like three people I've met in my life that I think of as like an older brother, a big influence. This guy, a guy named Jerry, and you, Ron. There's like three dudes that I consider to be like, like influential older brothers, like friends.
I like that.
So this guy definitely was one of them, and we had the same love of music, and he was a musician, so he taught me how to play bass. The first song I ever learned was from the band we're going to get into here. He loaned me his collection of records, and one of the bands he really loved was Face to Face. You guys ever listened to Face to Face before?
Yeah. Saw him at the Warped Tour. We tried to figure out what year it was. I think we decided it was 96.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
I was wrong.
That's great.
I thought it was 97. But yeah, I'm aware.
Okay. So he introduced me to Face to Face. I totally fell in love with this band. First song I ever learned to play on bass was a Face to Face song. Also on guitar, Face to Face song. So way into this band, they put out 3 records, I think, from like 92 to 96, and they're on top of the pop punk or punk scene. It's not pop punk, because they're on the radio with like one hit or so.
Yeah, they were a bit more, I suppose, a throwback to the more hardcore, old school. There's so many genres, subgenres of punk. Old Man Evans can't keep up, but not Green Day-ish as so much as, Bad Religious.
yeah, somewhere in between.
More
there.
like that.
Yeah. Melodic guitars though, and lyrics. One of the things that really resonated about this band for me was lyrically, I started to care more about what was happening in the world around me at the time. I was like, 17, so you start to realize there's more going on than just yourself.
Yeah.
And lyrically,
it's a terrible time, isn't it?
Yeah, it's fucking terrible. But lyrically, also like songs about loss and abuse and things like that. Things that are deeper than like the angsty, teenage love songs that it seemed like I was, that's all that there was around me at the time. So, anyway, so the band's getting big. They put out 3 records. They're getting big. The drummer quits. They recruit Pete Parada, who would eventually go on to drum for Saves the Day on a couple albums I know you have on your record shelf. And then The Offspring. He went on to drum for The Offspring for many years. And I think I told like a couple weeks ago, it was so unfortunate. While I'm prepping the story broke that he wasn't going to get the vaccine and The Offspring kicked him out.
Yeah.
So he's been the drummer for The Offspring for like 10 years. So, not when they had their big successes, but now, yeah. But he's a great drummer.
It's good to keep them separated.
Oh, man.
Sorry.
But he's a fucking phenomenal drummer. And on this album particularly, I really love what he did. But it's important to note that he's the new drummer for this album because So Face to Face decides they want to make a different album. They want to go into the studio and they're going to spend a lot of money. They're going to try to maybe have some commercial success, and make like an adult record, an artsy record, they would call it later on. And they would call that record Ignorance is Bliss. This is the album we're talking about. So they go in, they spend all this money to make it. They take it out. They put the album out. The fans fucking hate it. It sounds so different from anything else they've ever done. I remember the moment I heard it. I was in college. I was 18 years old. I was hanging out with this goth girl that I worked with at a call center, and she'd picked the album up. I didn't even know it'd come out. And I was like, oh, I love Face to Face. Can't wait to hear it. She puts it on, and I remember thinking, is your record player playing at a like slower speed? Something's not right. It sounds weird.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is weird. The album kicks off with this "Buka," and just right into a like a high octane rock song, which was good, but it was really clear by the end of the song this was not a traditional Face to Face album. Like, this did not sound right. And I was like, is this an EP or some weird thing like a experimental or a cover album? It wasn't. And that was the reaction of all the fans. They took this album on tour, and the fans fucking hated it. They would stand, and I got a video clip for Ron to play, and you don't need to see the video. It's just the band talking about this experience. But the universal reaction was a fan would, they say, we see a lot of this. And what they do is they hold their hands up, and one hand is thumbs down, and the other hand is fuck you symbol, just flipping them off. And they would just hold that up during all the songs because it was so radically different.
What year was this again?
This was 1999.
Okay.
It was so radically different from anything else they'd ever done. So not only that, they're doing that. They make a single that's a great single. It's called "The Devil You Don't Know," also known as "God Is a Man," because the lyrics are "God is a man, you know for certain." And it's not meant to be a sex. It's meant to be like, religion is fucking bullshit. So they sent the song out to the radio, and they got a bunch of backlash thinking it was like a sexist song, and they refused to play it. So it just crashed this album in so many different ways. But it was really like,
of course, God's a man because everything sucks.
Yes, yeah. You're like, exactly.
I see.
And so I remember I went out and bought the album, and I did fall in love with it pretty quickly. And this is the only album that stands the test of time for me. Like, I still listen to this album regularly. It was a ahead of its time album for me, just deep. Like, you know how your tastes grow, and it just was like it grew. It knew where I was gonna be as an adult.
Yeah.
And like, it projected that for me.
Mm-hmm.
So
that can happen.
So I remember Adam, my buddy that I ended up going on to be in that band with. He went to the Ignorance is Bliss show, and he said it was the same reaction. The fans fucking hated it. And he saw the drummer afterwards, and he went up to him, and he was like, how's it going? The drummer's like, everyone hates me. They think I ruined this band because, I'm the drummer of this record.
I brought the bliss.
I did. And so, but there's more to it. So they end up quitting that tour halfway through. One of the guitar player snaps because he's getting just spit on and gets in a fight with the fucking fans in the crowd. And they quit the tour. They and to this day, I've seen them like 10 times. I've seen them play one song off this album, and it goes on to become an album that many fans love. Like, it was just
it's their
too
rush
early.
signals.
Yeah. So, as for the record itself, when you guys are listening to it, a couple of things I wanted to say about it. My personal loves on it, or in my interests. It's got the ideal bass and drum connection for me. Like, when I think of, because obviously it did come to me in a time when I was learning to be a bass player. But this is like it for me. Like, this, you can just play this shit, and I'm like, yes, I lock in on this and I feel it. The songs cover, like I said, a range of topics lyrically, including abuse, fear, loss, things that like just feel deeper, more important than your traditional bullshit. And that's what I liked about it as a 17, 18-year-old. Let's see here. What else do I have? Oh, Burden. The song Burden has one of my absolute favorite bass riffs, which kicks right off you'll know it when you hear it. It's so good. And lastly, on the bass playing side, the end of I Know What You Are has like what I would call my desert island rock riff. It's like at 3:30, that song just starts rocking out, and then it slowly starts fading out, and I always find myself turning my volume up to like match it because I don't want it to end. You've fucking done that in the song.
Oh, absolutely.
Like,
for days.
So anyways, I just like to close. I while I was digging around on this, I found a little 6-minute video of the band talking about their experience with Ignorance is Bliss, and I think it's really interesting. And it kind of ends with how they redeem themselves as a band, because it felt like career suicide, and they come back and they make an amazing record afterwards called Reactionary, and it's all about their experience getting shit on, putting together this
By their
album
own
that they
fans.
loved, their baby.
Interesting.
And it's a great, it's an in-between album where it's like as good as, deep, as good and deep as Ignorance is Bliss, but more punk again. So it kind of ends with like 45 seconds of that. You hear that album being recorded. So anyways, if you don't mind, I'd love you to play that, and then I'm all done.
Are they still around?
They
Face to
took
face?
like a 10-year hiatus, and then they started recording again, but the lineup's different, obviously.
Well, do you
And so
know? Well, go ahead.
they put like 3 more albums out after since like 2016, I think, but I just haven't gotten into them.
I'm just wondering if they still play, or if they only play one song from that to this day, or if they've embraced it to
Trevor
some degree.
The lead singer would go on to do a solo career during their hiatus, and he would like advertise it as, I'm picking up where Ignorance is Bliss left off, because it was that popular. Like, it had that kind of resurgence. I remember buying it, and it was not as good as Ignorance is Bliss. But this was also the first album the entire band wrote together. Like even the drummer wrote a song on this album, which I thought was cool.
Oh, God, somewhere I've got a recording of me talking to somebody. I can't remember if it was Ken Stringfellow or the dude from Swingin' Utters, but one of those guys knows it's probably Swingin' Utters, because they're an Epitaph band. They definitely would have got to know face to face. But I got an interview with them talking about hanging out with those guys. It's nothing too interesting, but I think you would dig it, because it's just like, I asked the question, like, it seems like all these bands from this era and these labels all basically just hung out and were friends and did shows together. It's like, was it anything like that, or am I just being stupid? He's like, no, it was exactly like that. And then he basically went on to talk about it. Anyway, okay, so I'm ready to play this clip, and let's go. This is a long one, so settle in. Let me lower this so I don't have to hold my hand up. I'm just playing over my phone, because we are a $8 a year podcast.
Material was going to go over. I think the idea, or the hope anyway, was to satisfy the existing audience and also broaden that audience, and I don't think that happened. Our fans just didn't get it initially. Nobody got it initially.
Oh yeah, people hated that record passionately. Everything about this band, everything about our audience was passionate.
At least half of the audience looked like this.
Like going like this.
Thumbs up, thumbs down,
finger up. Was the new logo for the band from members of the audience, which, while not polite, made a clear statement. The guys were making like violin things and just going, "What is this?" Like mouthing it to us while we're playing. So here's what I don't get: they paid money and bought the CD, didn't like it, so they spent more money to buy a ticket and come to the show and tell us they didn't like it.
It's basically like watching your kid get beat up, in Little League, game after game after game.
I had the perspective and the ability to kind of step back and go, now you know what it's like to be me, guys. Every time I read a bad review or whatever, it's like them saying they don't like me. So in Denver, we're playing a show, and it's Ignorance is Bliss, and there's like 3 guys in front of me just spitting on me the whole time. So he finally has had it. Like, there's loogies hanging off his headstock, and finally hit one in the face. I threw my guitar over to our stage guy and jumped in feet first, like this. Feet first, into the crowd. Thankfully kicked the right dude in the face and just came up swinging. It was pretty gnarly, man. I was in the middle of, 2,000 kids, and everybody was swinging. It was brutal. And it was just, I stopped playing and run to the front stage, and Trevor's looking at me like, what the fuck are you doing? And I'm like, at that point I knew I was holding on a little too tight.
We were all snapping. It sucked.
The tour was hard. It was a rough tour. I think Chad took it the hardest. He busted his ass on that record. I mean, all those solos and stuff, he really outdid himself. This was personal now, because Ignorance is Bliss was really the first face-to-face record where everyone felt like they had a creative stake in it. That was a bit of a tough pill to swallow, because we felt we had made a masterpiece. It was after that show, I was on my way home, and
I was in the bus one night and it was totally late at night and it was just me. And I was really thinking about it, and I was like, you know what? I'm done. That's it. That was the straw that broke the camel's back. Chad quit. He was out. It was becoming hard to be on tour for, say 9 months out of the year. And, I have a 3-week-old son at home. He had a lot of pressures from the home front to change his line of work and be home more often.
I think at that point, we just saw that it was like, God, this is such a fight. Why it shouldn't be this difficult.
And we pulled the plug. We're just like, that's it. Cancel the rest of the tour. We made up some story. Chad broke his leg or something, I think, is the story we made up. Public perception is real important, regardless of what your music's all about and what you're doing. You can't escape it. Because they had kind of mastered a certain sound and become known for a certain sound, people didn't want them to change. As a musician and songwriter, I think it's probably the best record that I've ever been involved with, that I've ever recorded on. But some face-to-face fans would agree and some wouldn't. So we cut the tour short and we regrouped and we sat down and we said, what in the hell are we going to do now? Because we spent 7 or 8 years building this great career. We were at the top of our game, and then we took time off and made an art record and just freaked everything out. I thought it was imperative that they get back on the proverbial horse. Rich just said, you need to go make a punk rock record again. And I didn't want to hear that. I hated that idea. But the more I thought about it, I knew it was the right thing to do. So I convinced the band that's what we should do.
We had a pretty bad attitude going into that writing process.
The whole record was inspired and fueled by the experience we had with Ignorance is Bliss, as apparent in the title.
Chad at that point was involved in a pretty minimal way.
We called Chad and we're like, look, just come in and learn the songs, play in the studio so we have your recording. We'll pay you a flat fee and come and do the photo shoot. I felt really stupid putting out another record with another member change. He agreed to play on the record and to create the illusion that we were still a 4-piece. And I did that record. I came down and I think Trevor, showed me the songs in a couple of hours and like, here you go, play this part.
But this record was like good all the way through. And we're like, wow, this is good. It's coming out. And it came out naturally and it was easy. There was no fight to it. You didn't even have to think. And it was almost like the rebirth of the band again.
I think we got a lot of our fans back. And the irony was, I think we also pissed people off again because people thought we went running for the Ignorance sound too quickly. Because there was a certain faction that loved Ignorance.
True,
and thought
right?
It was the greatest artistic leap possible.
I'm one of them.
And it's funny because even when we were making Ignorance is Bliss, we were talking about how the next record was going to be raw and more visceral again. The typical pendulum swing. We didn't want to make, once again, the same record twice, and that meant not wanting to do Ignorance again.
Anyways, yeah.
So we'll skip to music. That's the one thing that I think the bots might find. But, on a way, 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 way smaller level, we have experienced a tiny bit of that where when we started to get away from our origins of being more juvenile and just who would win in a rape contest, Sasquatch, or what the bulk of our earlier days, I like to hope are now overshadowed by us growing up along the way and just figuring out how to have conversations without relying on so much just juvenile shit. Not that any of us are above juvenile humor, but at some point we changed, and there were people that sent us emails saying, no, we liked you better back then. And there were emails saying, no, we like you better now. Like, I got so tired of those old jokes and where you're headed now. So it's funny that to see that happening, in some sort of relatable way. I can only imagine dealing with those kinds of numbers and being in a 3,000 person auditorium with people flipping you off and giving you the thumbs down to a piece of art that you made. And it's just like, it's a funny thing. Fandom is a funny thing because it's like, I'm with you. And it's like, I'm not with you no more. Yeah. And it's like, well, are you with me or are you not with me? Some people are with you no matter what. Those are like the ride or dies. Some people are a bit more fair weather where they want a backseat drive to some degree. I want this, and I want this forever.
Yeah.
And every long living band has had to go through that to some degree.
Mm-hmm.
Aerosmith now sounds nothing like Aerosmith when they came out. Rolling Stones, same thing.
Yeah.
The Beatles, for Christ's sake.
Yeah. Everyone changes their sound. I mean,
They've all had to face it.
We all, our tastes evolve, and hopefully for the better.
But a lot of times those bands crumble and go away because they can't handle that pressure. So I'm glad to see that these guys came back. It's interesting that they came back and kind of like gave the fans what they wanted, but at the same time, it felt like they were owning it.
Yeah.
It wasn't like, okay, let's just give them what they want. It was like, we did our thing. We proved our point. Yeah. It's got its following, and interesting story. I'm dying to hear it.
I hope you like it. I hope you guys dig it. Some of the best bass playing I've ever heard, and the drumming is phenomenal in my opinion as well. But bass player's name is Scott Shiflett, whose brother is Chris Shiflett. Does anyone recognize that name?
Mm-mm.
Foo Fighters guitar player.
Oh, okay.
And they look identical. It's really funny. They look they look similar.
That's interesting.
Talented fam. Anyways, I hope you guys dig it. Ignorance is Bliss by Face to Face. The Spotify version has a few bonus tracks, because if you get down to it, you could tell they're different tracks. But give it a spin, and looking forward to your thoughts.
All right, will do, and we will talk about it next week. For just a brief moment, especially when you said the bass riff really stuck with me. I thought we might be heading toward Goldfinger.
You thought we were going there. That is one of my favorite.
One of the first time, if not the first time, that Christopher and I jammed or tried to practice together. He just started playing that, and I knew it. And I never played it before, but I play by ear. I'm really good at just finding where you're at. That's my one trick. So I started playing the.
So good. I was blown away.
Yeah, you were blown away. He's like, no one's ever played that part before. That's when I knew we were gonna rock.
John Mark or Lyle, do you have any exposure to Face to Face?
No.
I'm familiar with the band, and I'm sure I've heard a song or two here and there, but it's never been something that's been like super on my radar. But I know of them for sure. Yeah,
there's definitely some stuff I know you'll like of them, John Mark. I can't speak on this album. The reason I asked what year it was because the last Face to Face I heard was that Warped Tour that I was at, which I guess was '96.
Well, I'm excited to listen to it actually because I honestly have no idea what it's going to sound like, and that's awesome. That's great.
Yeah,
99's a weird year.
Oh, is it ever?
It really is. I mean, what you thought was like heavy metal turned into something you didn't expect.
I tell the story all the time. That same Vans Warped Tour that I saw Face to Face. There's so many good bands, but one of the bands was a little known up and comer band called Limp Bizkit, and they got booed off the stage. Fred Durst to moon the audience because everyone was just like, fuck it, we want to see the Mighty Mighty Boss Tones, who had the biggest hit at the time. I was there to see Social Distortion and let's see, there's some other band there. The Vandals, which are nowhere near the Vandals of yesteryear, but still wanted to see them. Fun show, but that's how I saw Face to Face. The Face to Face was playing when we finally got worked our way through, that seemingly 8-mile trek from the parking lot to the gorge itself.
I think you'll find this record interesting because it's not what you're going to be expecting, or maybe it is.
Well, clearly, apparently wasn't what their fans were expecting. So.
Well, it's funny was like a year ago, I think I seen a live performance of Fred Durst. It was Limp Bizkit, and he is fucking aged. He looks like one of the guys off Beastie Boys' fucking Sabotage video.
Yeah,
it happened actually. Yeah,
I kind of like it. I kind of like that look. Yeah, I don't hate him as much.
No, but
Fred Durst is probably an okay guy. Probably. No, well, maybe not. I don't know.
He's probably fine. But
he gets a lot of hate.
He had a goatee with his hair long out, but it was completely white. I don't know if it was done that way on purpose.
I think it's for some.
In that way, but dude, he matured
It's a
the
whole
way.
different look. You'd never know if
What's the performance? The performance in itself was great. The way the song, I can't even remember the song. I might have been breaking shit or something. I don't know. I don't even know.
Guys,
But
before we
it
go,
was
guys,
professionally done. It was very done well. You know, it wasn't like back in '99 when he fucking was out there just screaming, ram, grabbing his nuts. You know, he was actually the performance was accurate and it was in depth. I mean, it didn't even look like he had to sweat about it. He was just fucking pulling it out. That's impressive.
Mm-hmm.
Before we go, guys,
His biscuit is firm. Go ahead, Chris.
I want to say I went on a date the other night,
Oh,
and
shit.
she took me home. She took me home, and she took me home, and when I got there, then unfortunately I saw a giant communist flag on the wall, and I was like, "Whew, that's a big red flag."
What?
Big red flag.
Nazi flag?
But you know, when I looked on the other wall, there was a Swiss flag, so that's a big plus.
Here we go.
What communist flag? What do you mean?
Tell me the joke stops here.
It's up here.
Huh? Because I did not see the other flag coming.
Oh boy.
Yeah, that's a big plus.
Oh boy.
It's a big plus.
Oh, dear. Well, on that,
I'll be here all week.
note,
I'm still single, guys.
I'm still single. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Tune in next week
Where's I'm starred.
to hear our wow, said that weird. Our reaction
Don't edit this out, Ron.
to
Don't
Limp
you dare edit
Bizkit's
this
new
out, Ron.
album. No, there was something I was gonna say about that same show. Well, I guess it's not important.
Talking about Warp.
Oh no, what I was gonna say is I really don't know anything about Limp Bizkit. I've heard like the two songs that were big in like '97, but I have a few friends that are pretty well plugged into the LA music scene, and they say that they run into Wes Borland, the guitar player, from time to time, and they all have nothing but rad things to say about that guy. Yeah, like he's just a kooky fucking artist dude. He's like best friends with Adam from Tool, which goes a long way in my book.
Out of all of those people, he seemed like the one that was just sort of like he was just like doing his gig, like I want to play guitar.
Just like what band did you find yourself in, and how?
Yeah, right. It's like how did you get here, you fucking alien?
But I've heard so many interesting stories about him. Running into him in art galleries or kooky underground clubs. Wes Borland. Interesting. All right, let's get on out of here. I got to go watch Goonies with the girls, and I will report back on how they.
I'm so happy for you. It's like you never get the like happy jealous. Like I'm so happy for you and jealous. I can't wait to do that stuff with Logan. I'm like, yes, I'm pumped.
Yeah,
do it.
It will be fun, and it is fun to see them. Like every year, they get a little bit older, and you can expose them to something else that's just a little less inappropriate. But I maintain, the older girl, I'll eliminate the name to eliminate the creeps. You never know.
Let this out.
Yeah, and she is at the age that I was at when I started watching shit like all those crazy ninja movies and horror films and like Nightmare on Elm Street. You know, she's at that age, and I maintain that's the time to fucking see him because it's like they are true horror. It's not just like, well, that effect was cheesy or ooh, that's gross. You know, it's like an actual full body experience.
For sure.
Yeah, fun, and it's fun shit, and fun shit. Like the fun horror movies. Popcorn movies.
For me, growing up, I think was it Vidal Video?
Yep.
That was right down that little where like Jay's Teriyaki was. There's just a little movie dive
right next to Electric Fun Company.
Yeah.
That was the place. It's a veterinarian clinic now.
You would maybe I'm thinking somewhere else. I'm thinking up above that, like right next door to Taco Time, in that little strip mall where Jay's Teriyaki was. It used to be a movie, a little small Hopkins Video.
Hopkins,
City.
There you go.
Hopkins Video City.
That's it.
And that was like my youth. I remember going in there and like my parents only had a couple bucks anyway.
Fucking video stores.
couple dollar bills and go get a couple movies for the weekend. We go down there and we'd, just by looking at like the horror section, and you'd be like looking at the covers and stuff like that. And you pick your movie and you go watch it. And sometimes you might have picked a really scary one, at that age, because we're talking about the same age,
Yeah.
10 and 12.
Not much older. She's a little younger, but anyway, let's get on out of here. I got to set the scene to present Goonies. Talk next week. Can't wait to hear what we all think about Face to Face. Getting jiggy.
Ignorance is bliss.
Ignorance is bliss. We'll let you know, and we will be honest. Brutally honest.
Perf, I know I was.
All right.
I don't expect y'all to like it, but I think I think you'll appreciate some of it at least.
Yeah. That's the hope.
Hey, you guys.
Huh.
Hey, you guys.
All right, y'all. Have a
All
good
right.
week. Don't poke anybody with a stick. Everyone's on edge. Take care of yourselves and be vigilant. Have a good week. Bye.
All right, guys. See ya.
Bye.
Have a good night. If his neighbors were watching, when he uncovered the beats, would he be beating off?
Oh.